Welcome to my tutorial for Super Monkey Ball on the Advanced Mode course. And, yeah, this mode's a little tricky. It definitely took me some hours to beat. I could have beaten it a lot faster if I would have used practice mode more and practice specific levels. I did do that on some of the ones that gave me a lot of trouble, but I was pretty stubborn and I would just waste all my continues and then just keep starting the game over instead of practicing certain parts, so it did take me a little longer than it should have. My skill was pretty bad when I started out the game because I haven't played these too much. After beating beginner mode, which was very easy. And then gradually I started to get more of a grip on the controls. One thing to remember with this game is that you're not controlling your character directly. You're actually rotating the course. So when you start to think about it, in that aspect, it makes the controls a lot clearer. Because if you just think that you're moving the ball in the direction that you're hitting the analog stick, it's not really, exactly what's happening. It's as a result of you tilting the course that the ball rolls in the desired direction. So just keep that in mind. Though sometimes, when it seems like you can roll up a hill, it's not always, it doesn't always work out as you'd expect. But the main thing is just practicing these courses and getting them down, muscle memory, and just after doing them repeated times, then it just becomes easier because you already know, you almost don't have to think about it because, if you practice it enough, it just starts to come naturally. There are a few tricky stages. The last level can be extremely difficult, and I got annoyed with trying to ride the platforms like the developers intended you to, so I found a way to beat the level in 2 seconds by just busting across these platforms, but it was really, really hard to pull off. I spent 35 minutes practicing just the final level. I posted up the practice session if anyone wants to check it out. For this part, just wait here on this corner where you see me resting the ball. Let this thing come up like so that it kind of traps you in. And then as soon as it starts going back down, just let yourself roll down the hill naturally and just adjust by tapping right a little bit on the stick, and you'll guide yourself slightly into that hole, little by little, kind of inching the analog stick. I do that a lot when I accelerate in this game as well, just kind of inching. This is very easy, so really nothing to say here. But, I practiced the last level for about 35 minutes, and, initially I was trying to do it the way the game wants you to do it, riding these small platforms, and you got to watch out for these pinball bouncers that bounce you into the pit. Very fucking annoying. I started getting real stubborn, and I started just trying to, I didn't watch any videos on the level as far as to see this trick, but I just was like, maybe I can go directly to the goal because it's really close to where you start. So I kept just trying it and trying it and trying it. Eventually, I did get in there, and I was like, all right, if I can do that once, now I got to try to figure out how to duplicate that and do it consistently. So I just kept grinding out that method, and I'll try to explain it when I get onto the last level in the video. But, I just kept trying it again and again. And I ended the practice session by doing it 9 times in a row, like beating it in 2 seconds, like 9 times in a row. And then by that point, I had it down well enough to where I could get it within a few lives. I might die a few times, but it was good enough. But I could have still easily drained continues on that part if I didn't kind of focus and get a feel for it again when I was trying to do it. But it stayed pretty fresh in my mind. Yeah, that part's pretty self-explanatory, that mission. You just try to get to that square that's right before the final square you have to ride to the goal, and just kind of wait. I'm not even talking about doing, speed tactics like rushing across and trying to get there fast. This tutorial is just to beat it, and just what I did to beat the game. I'll also mention where 2 warps are that I know about anyway. I didn't look for the warps, really. I started fucking around later, and I was able to use both warps. But this is a warpless run, so I won't actually be showing me accessing any of the warps, but I'll explain where they are when they pop up. For this one, since we're just talking about beating the levels, go to the one on the far left right here that says 1.0. That's the one with the widest platforms, so that one's going to be the easiest to do. Whenever it comes down to, see, it's easy to fuck up. But for some reason, I always have a lot of trouble trying to stay straight at times. Because, the analog sticks can be kind of wobbly for a game like this. It's hard to straighten out at times, but I guess that just takes more practice. I mean, I got better at it in the time that I've been playing. So I think I have gotten a lot better, so I'm sure I could further get better if I had more experience with the game. But yeah, you want to kind of just get straight and be able to accelerate straight. If you're a little bit misaligned, you'll be crooked and you'll just go off the edge and you'll have to keep correcting yourself. And one thing, and that makes it very hard to stay on when you got to continuously correct. It takes very long to get across that beam when you have to keep like inching left to right and you're losing speed at the same time. So the thing about this game is once you lose all your speed, it becomes very difficult to move accurately because you got to start getting that momentum back up again so that you can turn faster. And until you do that, you're going to be wobbling around. It's going to be very hard. So you want to try to get on those straightaways and stay straight and get that speed. For this part, you want to be moving a little bit when these platforms shoot up so they launch you while you're in motion. Not like that. See, that gets you killed. So the way you want to do it is, you want to move, just be moving a little bit and get popped up by the platform while you're still moving a little bit. Like this right here. See, I was moving slowly when it went up, and that was enough to launch me over there. Make sure you hold up on the analog stick as you're being launched as well so that you don't bounce off the goal and into the pit, because that can happen too. Also, the red markers, the red, if you notice, there's these red things that move on the side of that last level. When they get all the way to the other end, when they move to I don't know how to explain it, but when they move to the end of where you start at, that's when the platform pops up. Just look for those red platforms. They're like these little narrow red moving things, like pistons or something. When they reach the end, the platform goes up. That's how you can see when the platform is going to pop up. So if you're having trouble with that, look to the sides and check those red things. And so this is the hardest level for me for some reason. I didn't practice it enough is probably what it is, but this is the level usually where I lose the most lives, strangely enough. You got to make these turns sharp. Like as soon as you're about to cross it, you make it sharp. But see, I didn't make it sharp enough. And once you get down there, there's like no way to climb back up. You can skip a little bit by doing what I just did right there. I fall down instead of making that series of turns. But the hard part is at the end of this area. Because, after you climb all this, you want to make those turns sharp, though, as soon as that space passes by. And see, if you do it sharp enough, then you won't be, like, stuck on the bottom and fall into the pit. But it's tricky. It always gives me the most trouble for some reason, because I'm not great with I always, lose, kind of my thumb slips off the analog, and then it's hard sometimes to maintain. This is very easy. These conveyor belts all take you in the direction of the goal. So you don't even really have to roll if you don't want to. I mean, aside from rolling left and right to get onto the next platform. There's a lot of levels that are really easy, so, it's not all difficult. But there's those few levels that can really suck lives, and if you're having trouble with a level, go into practice mode and practice. And also remember that you can unlock unlimited continues. When I beat this, I still had, limited continues, but you can unlock unlimited continues by getting enough play points. You have to purchase all 3 minigames with the play points. And then every 2,500 points you get after that will unlock another continue. Once you unlock 9 credits, the next 2,500 points you spend will give you unlimited credits. And once you get unlimited continues, then you don't have to worry about how many times you die on a level. And then you can beat advanced mode by just beating each level once. You wouldn't even have to, you don't have to beat those levels ever again if you don't want to, and you can still beat the mode. So I'm actually doing that for expert mode. I wanted the unlimited continues for expert mode mainly. So I have them unlocked now, and I'm going to start working on expert mode. I probably won't unlock master mode because I don't think I'm going to try to beat expert mode without losing a single continue. If you can do that, you will unlock master mode. But I don't think it shows up in the menu. I think you just go directly to it. For this, there's a way to end this level super fast. If you fall down to the right, instead of doing what I'm doing, if you fall down a little bit to the right when you start, you'll fall down to a platform that's right below this track. And by doing so, there's a warp. You can wait for this gate to come to where you are when you fall. You just wait there. And a gate will rush over to you. And if you position yourself properly, you can either chase the gate or you can have the gate just go right through you and you'll warp like 5 levels. So, you can do that if you want to do it. It was easy to do when I did it. But I was just fucking around one time and I did it. For this part, when you hit that, make sure you're still holding up on the analog stick because it's very easy to bounce into that hole after, getting to the other side. And when you get 100 bananas, you do get a free life, but it's, you'll only probably get one up anyway by doing these bonus stages, so it's not really worth it after you get the first one up to try to collect all the bananas. I never even completed this bonus stage, as far as getting all the bananas. So I would just, always fuck around whenever it came up. But yeah, just remember to purchase all the mini games so that you can start earning more continues for every 2,500 points you earn. I don't think you get any points for actually playing the mini games, unless you get points for beating them, but I didn't seem to get any points for participating in billiards. That's the only one I tried so far. This one is tricky, but you want to make your turns sharp, and it's tricky because, you can't go too fast and you can't go too slow, because you either got one of these barriers ahead of you or behind you. So you gotta keep pace with both of them and try to stay in the middle. The tricky part is trying to make those sharp turns just as one of the barriers passes you, so that you can be right behind the one that just passed you. And then you'll be in the middle of that gap. This is very easy. Just roll around the outer radius of the level pretty much, and you'll be where you need to be, and then you can just go in a goal. Super easy level. This one's not as hard as it looks. For this level, hold up on the analog stick so that you have full speed, and then get ready to slow down when that ramp comes up. Now make it turn and go down this wide path right here. They're all pretty wide. Up and to the right, pretty easy. The tricky part is, it looks tricky because of all those squares everywhere, but all you got to do is bust across. And just make sure you slow yourself down before the ramp, and then you'll be all right. It should be very easy. It's a very easy level. This level is very easy, but it can be tricky if you don't do it right. I always go to the right side of the platform, and I kind of tilt my stick to the upper right. See, if you don't do that, that's what happens if you don't do it right. You want to keep your speed up, but you also want to be in the up, in the rightish, right to, like right of the center of the platform, pretty much. You want to try to stay in that zone and just make sure you keep full speed, and then it's very easy. There's a warp right here. If you full speed and hit that square, you'll bust up and go to that gate that you just saw, and you'll get a warp. You'll skip 5 levels, or maybe 3 levels. I think it's 3 levels, but if you want to make things easier for yourself, you can use that warp as well. And aside from that, this part is pretty easy. Just watch what's going on with those bumpers. There's three curves here. Once you get up the third one, you're at the end, and then keep your speed up, of course, and then you don't want to bounce off like that. So make sure you're holding up on the analog stick. I mean, it doesn't always work if you bounce a certain way, but it can. If you're holding up on the analog stick, it can prevent you from bouncing off the goal and dying, because you're always going to bounce off the goal most likely. I mean, it was very rare that I didn't bounce off the goal. Usually, I would bounce off of it and have to correct myself. So yeah, it's that's really the only tricky part of this level. Is the end part can be a little tricky because sometimes you get bounced in the hole. Overall, though, I found it a pretty easy level. Sometimes if you go too fast, it can be a problem too. So I try to go like maybe about 3/4 speed, not full speed. I may do about, I might be at about 75% speed or something like that, and then holding. Then when you're airborne, then I'm still holding up on the analog stick to make sure I don't bounce too bad. This one can be very tricky. What you want to do here is not do that, but you want to come off. When you're coming off on the platform, you want to have some speed so that you can kind of have some momentum going, and then you're going to be following the curvature of the track, but you want to try to stay in the left to the center of the platform. So like up high, up a little bit higher than the center. And you want to try to maintain that, because at the end you're kind of going to just be riding off momentum. If you don't have enough momentum, you won't get the goal. That's the only hard part about this stage. And you also, when it's coming up near the end, you want to be maintaining your speed as high as possible so that you can have enough momentum and speed to kind of fall into that goal. It can be tricky. This one's very easy. Just go off a little bit, tilt to the right a little bit and hold up to accelerate, and you'll fly right through this. You want to hit, you don't want to do that, but you want to make sure you're riding along the rightmost platform, or the left, whichever one you're comfortable with, but I use the right one. And, you got to have enough speed or that shit happens. So, but most of the time it's, you shouldn't even die on this. It can be a little bit tricky, but it's pretty damn easy. Now this next level, it's not hard, but you just have to play carefully. You have to just kind of inch your way between these spikes. So just watch where they're about to strike and just, move very slowly and carefully. You'll get used to it. Also be prepared that if you do nudge or touch the spikes, to be able to try to plan ahead and correct yourself if you need to stay on the course. Because you'll probably nudge them a little bit, but, it's not a big deal as long as you correct it. For this one, I usually just go onto these platforms and kind of just try to ride it out until they straighten out again. It doesn't always work out for me because I never practiced this one in practice mode. So sometimes I was kind of sloppy, but I had so many continues I wasn't really worried about it. But yeah, so just go up on one of these platforms here and just try to hang on for a little while, and it'll straighten out and you'll be able to get back into the goal. It's not too hard. It's a little tricky. Next is the final stage. This can be very, very difficult. This is the way I did it. It's a very strange way to do it. It's more of it's what speedrunners actually do. After I checked the video, very similar to what speedrunners do. But I figured this out after practicing this level for 35 minutes. What you want to do for my method that I used, you want to be holding up as soon as the stage starts and get full acceleration immediately. And then you got to slightly adjust your trajectory to the right once you get on that first platform. And it's a lot harder to do than what it sounds, but if you keep at it, you can get it. But I recommend practicing that method if you want to just be able to get past this. I don't know if this is the easiest way to do it because it's kind of an advanced, technique, but I consider it an easier way to do it than riding those small fucking platforms. I didn't like trying to ride those platforms and avoid those pinball bouncers and all that bullshit. So, I got pretty fucking stubborn. I just decided to try to race through. But yeah, the main thing is you want to be holding up as soon as that stage starts. And as soon as you hit that first platform, you want to be adjusting your trajectory slightly to the right. And, if it lines up correctly, you can get into that goal. But if you don't practice that, you're probably going to die a fuckload because it's a lot harder than it looks. Now this part's pretty tough. You have to input your full name, but the problem is you're only given 3 letters that you can use. You have a limit of 3 letters. So unless your name is Joe, you're pretty much fucked. So, for this part, I just try my best, man, but I don't think I beat it. I don't think I was able to complete it properly because I don't think I got the true ending, but at least I gave it a shot. And now a word from our sponsor.